Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Dark Alchemy Labs, right? Right? Labs or Limited? I always get mixed up.
Limited.
Dark Alchemy. Let's start all over again. Hi, this is John from John's Long Box. I'm here with Dark Alchemy Limited. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you
Hey,
today,
John.
John?
Yeah. So this is a very special episode of John's Long Box because these guys are in my neighborhood over here. They're actually some of my players for my Villains and Vigilantes game. If I was smart, I would have had this ready. But those of you, if you watch my channel for more than 8 seconds, you know that I'm always talking about this game, how much I love it. Well, these guys all. Hey, why don't you just introduce yourself and your character, and then we'll talk about Dark Alchemy. So, Roy, we'll start with you.
I'm Roy from Dark Alchemy, and I have a Village and Vigilantes character of Red Star. She projects force fields. She can fly with it, and all her force fields are red. That's why her name's Red Star. And she's a Tartarian, so it's kind of like being a Russian, but with a lot of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Tartaria until Roy told me about it. Now I'm kind of upset. Right now, it's my favorite conspiracy theory.
Dragged you right in with the mud flood.
Right, I actually made a character for a comic book who was the exiled king of Tartaria, and it's all. I should name him Roy. I just realized that. I didn't think so.
King Roy. Nice.
Yeah,
Roy means king, so it's a
and then
double
Roy, we have the dead professor, who I know is Scott. How you doing, Scott?
Good. How are you, John? So my character is Spectre, and his powers are primarily non-corporealness. He has short-range teleportation, but it's all suit-based, so he's not really. His only powers are heightened intelligence and heightened senses, but everything else is based on his suit. And he's the womanizing playboy of the group, who's the rich boy inventing everything. But he's really convinced that Red Star is from Kansas.
Yeah.
Is this?
Makes sense.
What's the accent?
It was when under pressure when you broke into a different accent. That was fun. These guys love role playing, so it's a lot of fun. And below me is Dave. How you doing, Dave?
Good. How are you doing? Most
Good.
people call me DM Evanson on the channel. I RP with these guys a lot. I play currently Grunt. He is a border patrol agent turned superhero who prefers superheroes rather than normals, and currently is incarcerated in a different country.
Yeah,
But super strength, invulnerability, and that's about it.
and regeneration.
Regeneration. Sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Character's pretty tough. We played like 3 adventures, and as Roy likes to point out, we had a total of 50% kill rate.
Yeah.
Maybe character died.
Pretty good.
Character died. I'm sorry.
Rest in peace, Remora.
It's got a better kill rate than our Call of Cthulhu game, right?
Really, I'm killing more
Yeah.
characters in a superhero game than in an H.P. Lovecraft game.
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
therapy then.
We play real cagey in Call of Cthulhu and like very careful. And we also had some lucky rolls in it too. So
Oh, isn't that fun? That is the funnest thing. I'll never forget my friend Mike. I don't know if you met Mike. He's has the campaign on Kickstarter right now for Marshall Strong Comics. But I'll never forget. It was literally a life and death roll, and if he rolled anything below a 17 on a die 20, he would have died. And I think he rolled an 18, and it was just silence for a second. Then we all just cheered. I don't want him to die. You know, it was one of those. I love that. If you guys are playing role playing games, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
but if he had rolled higher, would you have killed him? Would he have been dead?
Well, he had to roll a 17. I would have killed him. You know me. It was,
I know.
you know, that's me. Sorry, that's the rules. You know?
We
I didn't
speaking
he did it himself.
speaking of that, we were having a discussion about, you know, Scott often says, you know, and we all say, let the dice tell the story, you know.
Yeah.
To the most part, you don't want to put your characters in a no-win situation where, you know, maybe a single roll will, like, you know, maybe just kill him. You don't want him to get to there unless, you know, it's part of the story. But you know, we had a recent game with DM Evanson in Dungeons and Dragons where it wasn't even our character. It was a character coming across. We're supposed to meet a wizard at the crossroads, and he was going to teleport us back. And he's a high-level wizard, and he's going to get us home. And the one guy in the group, it was his turn to roll. We kind of go around the table to roll. If we have to do percentage roll, we each take a turn. So it was this guy Tom's turn. He was playing a monk named Kumo, and let the dice tell the story. He rolls a 00, and we get there, and the wizard's dead. And it's like a 20th level wizard, like part of the whole arcane conclave, and it completely changed the storyline. And I applaud Dave for it because it was like, what do we do now? Like, we're just like these like at depth, these low level people.
Yeah, change the way you got the information.
What's that, Dave?
So just had to change the way you got the information now. Just longer out, but made for a good story.
Yeah, I love that. I'm just going to address the chat, and then we'll talk about. We were going to talk about DMing, right, in role playing games.
Yeah, DMing and role playing games in D&D, or maybe how you use Village and Vigilantes for a fantasy scenario.
Okay, so this is Courtney. How you doing? Courtney is a longtime watcher, and she was gone for a while. It's glad to see she comes back. Hey, Marcus. Marcus will be on with me later on tonight when I do its clobbering time at 8:30.
Nice.
Tonight's topic is artists versus writers. Who's more important in a comic book? So I'm expecting this one to be violent. I want to see nerds poking each other out with stick rulers and pencils. Zach Tan with the drive-by blessing. It's good to see. Courtney says hello to everybody. I was on the other channel. Oh, that's why you had a link. Okay. And everybody's saying hello to each other. I love when everybody says hello. Hey, Ben is back. Good to see Ben.
Hell.
And I think I'm caught up. I'm caught up. Okay, so you mentioned Call of Cthulhu. I mentioned Village Vigilantes. Obviously, Dungeons & Dragons. Is there any other games that you guys keep in your repertoire that you play? Gamma World or anything like that?
So over the last 5 years, I think we've played Shadowrun and we've played
Starfinder.
Yeah.
Starfinder? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's like the sci-fi version of Pathfinder.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
Is it overly complicated? The last sci-fi game I played was Star Frontiers. I just remember it was Math, the role-playing game. It just fun.
Star Frontiers we played when we were kids. I still have it. I actually reacquired it, but Starfinder's not complicated. It's like D&D. It's very similar to D&D current edition. Yeah. It's easy to roll into.
Yeah, I think we also enjoy like these different games one shot. So DM Evanson, I think he has a whole list of one shots we want to try, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of good for like a good 3 to 4 hour session. Some maybe a 5 hour, but horror ones. I got like 10 Candles, which is a great horror one, which everyone dies at the end. So you kind of go in knowing how it's gonna go. I had the Alien role play game I picked up, so that's a good one shot. It has a good storyline, has nice map layout of the ship you're boarding and such, and even more bigger social deduction games, which turned into kind of a RP, which is pretty cool.
I just want to clarify that Zach, we're talking about tabletop role-playing games, not like video games or board games. So this is like Dungeons.
We do those too.
Yeah, we do those too. These guys will come over, we'll play, and
oh yeah.
I've been to Scott's house. We played Star Trek Ascendancy.
Ascendancy.
I want to play that again. Yeah.
How's it going?
Well, that game almost has a role playing feel to it. It's a board game. It's always a little bit different, and but like when you pull those different cards up, it kind of creates a new story because we had the one where everybody can encounter each other. Klingons encounter Federation encounter Romulans encounter Vulcans, and all of a sudden everyone was in contact within like the first round. It was such a strange game, and it was great because we never had that before.
Yeah. Everybody in this room, everybody in this chat rather, not chat, everybody on this panel has been to my house for Twilight Imperium, perhaps my favorite board game. I kind of messed up the rules, which is a standard for me. Like if you play a game with me the first time,
it's a huge game.
You're gonna play it wrong the first time. I just want you to know that. But I'd like to play it again now that we know the rules. Yeah.
So Shadowpunk saying the Hand of Vecna is the greatest module ever. We just finished The Curse of Strahd with DM Evanson, and I thought that was great. Dave, have you read? We're going into Vecna at some point. Have you actually read through it?
Not Hand of Vecna.
Not a Hand of Vecna. We're going through the Eve of Ruin. Vecna.
Oh, that's a big box. Who got you that?
My gaming group here.
Nice.
And inside of it is like a whole module of goodies to give out. But
John likes that, right? He likes the big boxes that have the games.
Yeah, don't tempt me. Be gone with your ring.
So that's the Beetle and Grimm Platinum Edition, which is Wizards of the Coast third party that they let make their super versions of the modules. So it comes with physical props. It comes with maps. Like in Curse of Strahd, Dave had the version, and the map of Strahd's castle was literally bigger than my game table, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty nice, and the maps are really good, high quality material. And they usually have nice props of coins, which I know you love coins.
Oh my god, yeah, sucker. I'm a
Oh,
sucker
actually,
for metal coins, miniatures, and custom dice. So if anybody
That's
wants to make a
branded
game,
symbol.
just put those 3 things in a box, and I'll line up for it.
Mm.
I want to say though, playing role-playing games with guys with like actual jobs, you know what I mean? You know, I remember in college we used to play, and it was just like nobody had loose leaf. I would have to supply pencil. I mean, these guys are buying each other like $200 modules. It's nice.
Yeah, well, I get to play at a very nice gaming room too. I mean,
Yeah.
Scott's got a projector, TV. It feels like you're at a tavern.
Right. When you go to Scott's house, it's like the Green Dragon Inn. You know, he engineered it pretty well. It's nice to play with like real.
We're gonna do a video on it one of these days for our channel. We just never.
Yeah, we should do it sooner rather than later.
And
yeah,
Roy,
actually,
we did a video on my Scott. Roy and I did a Halloween board game video. If anybody wants to check that, you could pretty much see my game.
Yeah, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
that intro for your comic book, the trailer was amazing.
Yeah. I gotta say, since you brought it up, that the comic book community is famous. Well, I'm sure every community is famous for drama and fighting and stuff like that. But that's like 4% of the people making 90% of the noise. Most of the people are helpful. We love each other. This was a guy named Kyle Prometheus who just sent it to me one day. You know, I didn't ask him. Just
sent it and was like, "Here you go."
He sent it for the first comic, so then I reached out and hired him for the second one. You know, and he was like, "You didn't take any money, Kyle. Either you forgot to bill me or you think I paid already. I didn't. So I don't want
awesome.
to
Wow. Yeah, at least promoting him, so that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, And Marcus says he hates everybody. Marcus, everybody loves you. Yeah. So.
Well, John, let me jump in here.
Dave is usually the DM for Dungeons Dragons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask. You guys answer, and then you guys talk whatever you want. It seems like you like modules, or do you like to make up your own stories?
I respect modules for what they are. If you don't have time to write a whole story and do prep each week, modules are perfect. I mean, I don't have anything against them. We just got done running a module, which I think is one of the best ones. But I prefer open sandbox, create your own, let the players basically mess with the environment and not all right, we got to go this way and dangle keys in front of them so much and let them do their own thing, which I enjoy. A lot of the players like that.
Dave, that being said, the last part of the adventure, we went from Hope to the cultist cave with the Naga.
Yeah,
that was actually part of like a first edition, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
and then you kind of combined it. Talk about that, maybe.
I took God, that was first ed, so I don't know how long ago that is. Early '80s, probably that module. Cult against the reptile god, and I just love the whole setup and plot. It really it has nice, really fleshed out characters down to like where they hide their life savings under their floorboard.
Oh wow!
Of every resident, of little knickknacks and everything. It's so well fleshed out of motivations, and the dungeons made sense of like what creatures are in there. It's just not like a red dragon hanging out with a bunch of kobolds and goblins. Like why are they all getting along here?
Yeah. Just open up the door. There's a dragon. Wouldn't the dragon eat these goblins?
So it was a good thing. I just because it was the beginning of the campaign, so I just took that module and started it in hours and edited it a little bit to fit the story, and they kind of ran with it. And I had to tweak it a little bit, but everyone seemed to like it and like the old feel of the dungeon crawl. So it was nice.
And what do you guys prefer? Like, because they've seen when I play Village Vigilantes, I make up everything because I'm a lunatic. And I also do theater of the mind. I very rarely make maps or miniatures, stuff like that. So, But you've bought this deluxe super module that I'm drooling just looking at it. And you said you had maps that are as big as the table board. Do you use that, or do you use theater of the mind?
Mainly, we use maps for combat because D&D is so big on placement and angling, and he's 20 feet, and I have a 30-foot thing, and then there's so many where you need to visualize a lot of it,
right?
Especially with terrain, you got to be like, well, where's the cover, and you got to like, oh, it's over. And just visualizing it makes the turns go so much faster.
Yeah, D&D combat has become a lot more tactical than it was back in first or second edition. So it's almost combining some of those miniature game aspects to it that we all happen to play also. But you know, when you look at the famous D&D players now, they almost all use battle maps and miniatures now, just because it's how the game is really designed now. It looks for it.
Well, that's how it started out, right? It started out like with those little Ralph
pen and paper
figurines, you know what I mean? And when they said inches because you were supposed to be playing on a grid, and you know.
Yeah.
I think, John, I think a lot of it is theater of the mind, and then when you get to a certain part of it, when you're entering a dungeon, you know, you put the map down, and we have one of our players. He has access to a large format printer, so once in a while he'll print out, you know, 2 feet by 3 feet a map of the dungeon, or we'll put terrain out. Dave has warlock tiles. We actually 3D print terrain.
Can I bring up this picture to show everybody what lunatic?
Yeah. Well, this is the last show we're at. We're at Long Island Tabletop. Dark Alchemy is our business now. We just kind of started up. We're going to be selling actually miniatures in Brothers Grimm store, or a selection of them that he's looking for. And so we love to put the miniatures out. And the biggest problem is really just getting them painted. You know, we want painted miniatures on the map. But if you have a certain scenario, then you know you put the miniatures out for that, and then after the battle you clean them up. And the last 2 sessions there were no miniatures out. We were just talking about our bastion, our castle. We were shopping. We had a whole shopping experience of magic items. So in that case, you don't need it. But when you actually have a cool battle with a cool monster, I love to see it on the table, especially if it's painted and it's so tactical and immersive.
I got to give a shout out. Scott printed my Patriarch miniature.
The Patriarch.
John, if you want a bigger one, just tell me. I'll print them bigger.
Oh, sure.
It's 75 millimeter, right?
That's right.
Yeah. The file was tiny, right? Yeah.
John, you can get a bust made, a Patriarch bust.
Yeah, well, it's getting warm now. I'll fire up my 3D printer, but it's gonna get destroyed the first couple of times. I know me. I'll mess it up.
Yeah, it's definitely a hobby.
Yeah, it's there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
The next question I want to ask is, you know, I stopped getting D&D stuff at 2nd edition. So I got the red box when I was a little kid. I wish I held on to it. Then I got the 1st edition books, and then AD&D 2nd edition, and that was it. I stopped because that's when I got Villains, Vigilantes, and I never went back. Now, what would you consider your favorite? Like I didn't even know that there was like an edition war, and then the Civil War when they went to Pathfinder and all that stuff. What do you guys think about that? All that stuff.
So I'm a crunch person, so I was a huge fan of 3.5 because I liked the crunch and the figuring out what worked best, and you know what skills were you getting, and where were you putting your points. But I mean, I'm the extremist. I liked games like Rollmaster and Star Master, Space Master rather, which were the crunchiest games ever, where every weapon had its own chart against an armor type. So I'm the extreme there, and 3.5 fit that niche for me. But I'm really happy with 5.5 or 2024 5th edition, whatever you want to call it. They've cleaned it up. They've tightened it up. It's easy for people to just play. You know, we could bring you in, John, and in 20 minutes you would be like, all right, I understand how everything works.
Yeah,
that's a huge benefit
sure.
now.
I've been playing role playing, so I think I'd get the hang of it. But the little rules, I'm sure I wouldn't know. But you know, if I'm playing a ranger, I think I can figure out how to be a ranger.
So John,
what would you recommend to a newbie, a guy who's never played anything before?
I think it's easy for a newbie to currently.
I think D&D is the perfect introduction into that genre, just because it's so user friendly.
I will say this, even though this is my favorite, this is not user friendly. Like, a new person is going to have a difficult time.
And that's part of the reason I loved Villains and Vigilantes when I was younger, because I liked the crunch in it.
I love the math in it. The math made sense. You know, like I haven't played, but I haven't played the new stuff. Like one of the things that always bothered me was you rolled out your stats and then you rolled your hit points. One thing I like about Villains and Vigilantes, you get your stats, and then the stats give you the hit points. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do they do that in the new edition? Maybe they do it.
Your stats affect your hit points and other abilities. Not to the extreme that deal with Village of Vigilantes, but like to an extent. You know, you get a couple extra hit points per level with a good constitution.
If Yang Yao is in the chat, say something. He's my go-to role-playing guy. We go back and forth. His channel is all Dungeons and Dragons, so he probably.
We got to track him down to find him. Yep.
Give him a follow. definitely.
I'll send you his
So,
information.
so John, let me say this: there were kind of two extremes we came across within the past week or two. So, Dungeons and Dragons, like if you're a wizard, you can cast a spell. You have a list: first level, second level, third level. You pick it, you cast it, has a description, and you're good to go. In your game and in another game we were playing called the Dresden Files, which uses the Fate system, it's another extreme. So in your game, you say to me, "Hey Roy, your red star puts a force field up. How's she going to shape it?" I'm like, "I'm going to make it like a slide. I'm going to slide down, and at the end, it's going to be like a big red bubble, and I'm going to bounce off it." Right? There's no spell for that in D&D. You just make that up. And then you as the game master say, "Well, that's going to be this difficulty rating, or it's going to cost you extra energy." Yeah, and in the Dresden Files, it's even worse. You say, "Okay, I want to cast a wall of air that pushes all these 10 cards away." And as a game master, I have to be like, "Well, that sounds like a superb feat, so it's going to be +6." But it's incumbent upon me to kind of decide what the level of challenge it is, and it's like there's not enough rules in place to do anything. So if you can fly across the multiverse, you can't put that on a tabletop, and you can't really write a rule for it. You have to be a good game master.
You know what this sounds like? Do you ever play those like Vampire the Masquerade? Those
Still got those books.
Yeah, I got all those books, and I remember reading them through. And then, like, my first question was like, "Okay, I read all the books. How do you play?"
Yeah, 100%.
That was honestly, I made a wizard in Dresden, or I made a druid, and I sat down and I went, "But I don't understand how I cast a spell." Like the rules for casting a spell were just like, "Well, do what you want, and your game master will tell you how hard it is."
That just sounds ripe for arguing.
Yeah,
if you're not playing with the right people, absolutely.
Yeah,
if you don't have experienced players who go with it, you're right. Yeah.
Zach Tan had a great comment in chat, John.
Oh, Zach Tan, which one? Oh, down here.
Oh yeah,
the last one.
A lot of games either base their system off D&D or purposely divulge so D&D makes it good. Yes, D&D is the standard. I think
it's kind of the baseline,
gold standard.
And this, this is D&D, and then it just went like this. It leaned into the math of D&D because you still roll 3 die 6 in your stats. You still roll a die 20 to hit. It's D&D esque. Now,
well, it's also an older game. It's around the same time.
1983 was the last edition.
That's all the formation of D&D first edition and advanced, second edition.
And all the house rules that I came up with was to solve arguments. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now you have a binder worth.
Yeah.
It's like this big, right?
I knew I was in trouble when Scott showed up with all my house rules printed out. I was like, I got to be on.
Got to know what game I'm playing.
Yeah.
Did you print those out from the website, the forum, the V&V forum?
Yeah, that's where I got them the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like one of the things, like if you want to shape your force field, okay, roll intelligence. I don't think that kind of makes sense. That's not going to cause a problem. Okay, if I could picture it in my mind, I can make the shape kind of thing. And then I have a little like, is this hard, difficult?
Yeah.
Extremely difficult. Easy, super easy, and I call it broadside of a barn. Those are the 6 categories that I modify with. I should put like a little chart on the table to show you like, okay, it's hard, so then you could look. Oh, hard means -5, difficult means -3, but whatever. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So, do you guys, when we were kids, we would play Dungeons and Dragons, and then let's just say we're all 14 years old, and Roy would be the dungeon master, and then give me the +5 Holy Adventurer, and then I would be the dungeon master, and I would give Roy the Rod of Lordly Might. And then we'd go to Scott's house, and Scott would be like, "Where did you get all this crap?" "Oh yeah, we were playing." So I made a rule that if you played in my game, you could only get that character in my game, and if I found that your character cheated on me, we broke up. Did you guys go through that?
I think that was that's not a newer thing. I don't think that's a common thing nowadays.
Yeah, that's characters now are basically, you made this character, it's for this campaign, and that's
this one shot, or
this one shot. And people probably recycle characters in one shots and stuff. Where they take, I have this character I played, but I only got to 3rd level. There's a 7th level one shot. I think this is what my character would be by then.
Yeah,
but it's a separate character at that point. The things don't transfer over.
Now there are a few people out there, YouTube and such, like, "Oh, this is my character." And they cosplay as that character, and they run that character in anything they get X to play in. It's always that, that character, which is whatever. It's their thing. There's nothing against it. But yeah, there's no like, oh, I played a Roy's game and now I have 10,000 gold for your game. It's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And so there was years ago, I don't know if it still exists, there was the RPGA and they had the Living World.
Yeah.
And that was
Oh, wow.
at con. Yeah, we're bringing you back there.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
But
Yeah,
had,
I'm getting flashbacks. Yeah.
What's this?
So they
Yeah.
were convention characters. And
Yeah.
they would run at conventions all over the country, but they had a very tight set of rules. And the treasure that was given out was super regulated on what a character could have. But you could play that character. You could go to Gen Con and play that character in a game there, and then you could go to PAX Unplugged and play the game there, and go to Origins and play the game there. And you kept getting leveled up, and you kept getting items, but they were super controlled, so nobody got out of hand.
Oh wow, that sounds fun.
John,
have you guys ever LARPed?
John, let me say this. I ran last year at Long on Tabletop. Me and Scott actually ran a D&D adventure called the Food Fight, where people go to a food festival in a D&D world, and the food kind of comes to life. But I said to those people, there's pre-gens, but you can also bring a character. And I think we had like a list of the type of magic items you could have. It was like, one rare, one uncommon, two commons. But like, people weren't abusive. It was actually the opposite. People came with like underpowered characters, and I was like, I had to pull my punches a little bit, because this one guy had a monk, and I guess they only played online, they never played in person. And I was like, oh, right, Scott, that one monk you were actually helping out, I think it was. And it was
I
just
don't know if he
underpowered.
did his stats in a very old-fashioned way, where he rolled them in order, because like it was a monk with like a 16 intelligence and a 10 dexterity, and I was like, did you roll these stats for this character? Because it didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it didn't make sense.
It's funny that you said that, because I went to GaryCon about 10 years ago, and one of the
cool.
all the guys that would post on my Villains Vigilantes forum, we've been posting for years, but I never met them. And it just so happened we were all like, let's all go to GaryCon and meet. And this guy Dominic was like, I'm going to run a V&V game. And at the time, Jeff D was going to play, Bill Willingham was going to play. So it was going to be all the guys who created. Oh my God, I was so excited. And of course, Jeff D and Bill Willingham canceled at the last minute. But he said, make a character for the game. So I did it exactly by the rules. I rolled it out, and I came up with Sergeant Stone, who will be in Heroic Tales #2. And he was so weak compared to everybody else. There was like 18 players, and I'm not joking. Like, he got to go once, because you guys know that agility gives you since he was all stone, he was really slow. He went once. He had a negative modifier because of his heavy body. He missed, and then it was 45 minutes around the table before he went again, only to miss. And it was excruciating, but it was fun to meet everybody. Sure. But I did the same thing. I made my character weak. I think it's because like I'm not 12 and I don't want to be a jerk. You know what I mean? So I think everybody was probably, these guys are never going to invite me back again if I make the Lord of the World character.
But there's good rules for it now. You know what I mean? It's very easy to make a character and to have that character be the right power level. The Dungeon Master's Guide tells you a character of 3rd level should have this many items of this power level. And really, if you stick to those rules, you can't throw it too far out of whack.
Now, did you find, how many people did you play with? How strangers, pretty much, right? Or did you know everybody?
We ran
so at the convention? I think it was a full 6, I think, for that in both games. And it was fine. Actually, it's a 3-hour. I like the 4-hour one shots, but the 3-hour, we got like 3/4 of the way through it, and all of a sudden I had to kind of cut a scene and kind of fast forward to the end. But we actually 3D printed the food fight miniatures. So the big bad guy was the cheeseburger monster. He was like huge. They were fighting Cake Bannerman. There was a French fry necromancer and a donut wizard. The donut wizard actually became a good guy and helped the people to kind of.
Of course, donuts are delicious. I don't want an evil donut.
Yeah, but it was necromancer makes sense, because those things never. You find them underneath your car seat, and it's still
exactly. Yeah, they're like undead, right? But it was also kid friendly. If you're chopping up French fries and donuts, like whatever. There's no blood. It's just cake filling. You're good to go.
Icing.
Right before COVID happened, me and Jimmy were talking about going to and running a V&V campaign for kids. Like we were going to make it that everybody was a sidekick, kind of thing. And then COVID happened and I moved and whatever. But maybe that would be fun. Yeah. Now, when you play, did anybody have were they too shy? like my wife has played exactly 2 sessions of role-playing games with me. One we did solo, so she would learn the rules, and the second one with like friends that I've known for years. And then she still sits there like, "Oh, I'm allowed to talk." Like, yeah, you know. Do you ever get that? You people who are too shy or people who are too much?
The funny thing about the food fight one, because I ran a Cthulhu also this year, but we're going to our channel strictly D&D, and we're going to strictly D&D content, so we'll do D&D adventures. But for the food fight D&D one, you know, everybody who joined that session said, "I'm here because I'm a foodie," and we actually had one or two guys were cooks, and they were excited to play a food-based, chef, like a food-based adventure. So because of that, people jumped right in. But I mean, I think that's part of being a good game master, John. If you have people you don't know, you kind of got to draw them in and go around a table. Hey, what do you think you might want to do? You try to draw them out and maybe give them some advice. You know, you're all adults. You want to have fun. It's not like, you know.
And luckily, they have a good description on all the events, so no one's not signing up completely blind. They usually know.
They know what they're getting into.
Yeah, which is cool.
Now, you guys, I know Dave, you dungeon master Dungeons and Dragons, and when we were kids, we kind of naturally broke up into, when I say me, my friends, Jimmy, we all know Jimmy, but we all took a game. Like one guy was the dungeon master of only Gamma World, and one guy was D&D, and I was do you guys do anything like that? I know you said Call of Cthulhu. Is that yours, Roy?
So I had growing up, I did D&D. My buddy did James Bond, a role playing game, which was rough because we were all double O's, and like the double O's would go together. One guy took it upon himself to do Boot Hill because he liked the Western stuff. Yeah. And those rules are super simple.
Yeah, Boot Hill, you spend 45 minutes making up a character, and then he gets into a gunfight and he's dead.
Yeah, because he did. And then I think I ended up being a game master a lot. Star Frontiers, Gamma World, D&D, and that's really it. Those are the main ones. We had a good Star Frontiers campaign.
I played only one Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, and I got to say, my DM, he never read Lovecraft, so it just becomes Dungeons and Dragons, you know, rather than.
And it can very easily, yeah. It's not meant to be.
And speaking of, I had Peterson on my channel a couple weeks ago. You know, a guy who created the Call of Cthulhu game and Doom and all that stuff. I mean, all you gotta do is say hello to him, and he talks. He's a great guest. So, when do you play? How often do you get to play?
We are very lucky that we play almost every week. Other than I'm traveling for work, so we have 6 players in the group now, and we'll play down one person. But so generally we're 3 times to 4 times a month, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And then we'll try to add in a session with you once a month. We're trying to do it right, even though I messed up this month. But I'd be willing to do, John, we could always do a one shot. Like you say, I want to try Cthulhu. I got a Cthulhu one shot, and Dave has a bunch of one shots. So
I'm always looking. I haven't tried that. I want to try that.
I literally haven't played D&D in like 30 years, so I'm kind of curious. I take it back. I played with one guy and it was so miserable I put it out of my mind. This is another topic that always bothers me. Is this guy Gary? I don't know how he tracked me down through my website, from the forum, and then we met in Westbury, and we went for every Friday for like 6 months. But he would make it so that, like, I remember we were both Rangers, my friend Mike and I, and we were in a guard tower, and we heard a noise. So we went down to alert the rest of the squad. And it took 45 minutes of describing our path through the snow. And I was tense the whole time because I'm thinking orcs are going to jump out. And then we get there, and it didn't matter. Like, it was just excruciating. And then every fight was like, he would put these miniatures on this piece of oak tag, and it was just A attacks B and B attacks, and it was just so dull. But the most unforgivable thing was if you didn't do what he wanted you to do, no joke, Mr. Chu, who was a little blue chihuahua, would materialize and use magic and force you to choose what he wanted you to choose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was excruciating to the point Mike and I, every once in a while, we were like, "What are you, Mr. Chu? I want to go to McDonald's. You want to go to Burger King? Is Mr. Chu
terrible?"
What do you think about that, railroading characters?
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So it's a game of choice, right? But it's a storytelling game.
Right.
So if you've prepped a whole story, you'd like to use it. But I mean, Dave, I'm sure we've steered Dave down roads he did not intend to go down. Dave has set up the entire table for an encounter he expected, and we took a left turn, and Dave just cleared the table. So Dave is not a railroading type of DM.
That's good. Yeah,
because you
I
can
always
always
say that.
recycle everything. That's the beauty of D&D. The players don't know what was there.
Oh.
So if I don't get to use it now, well, guess what? Next week or
Next
3
week,
weeks from now,
the Blue Wizard's showing up. Whether I got him written out. He's showing up.
And if your players are just not picking up on cues, or they're not going to that village you need them to go to because they keep skipping it, just make the next village the village that they need to go to.
right?
Yeah.
And then they end up, hey, we're there, and then the story continues. Without them knowing that they got railroaded.
And they celebrate. Wow, we figured this out.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not picking it up or whatever the case may be, sometimes you have to railroad without them knowing. But that's rare. That's more like
I think that's a good conversation to have, like if you're starting a new game. So if we sit down and, okay, guys, role playing D&D, this is the expectation. We have some home rules or some house rules that's going to affect the main rule book. It's going to be a little different. But also, what's your expectations? I'm going to try to run it this way. You can have a play which says, no, I never explore. Well, become a farmer then, because you're not an adventurer. Like that's part of the thing. Try to play a character, and maybe even take your players and pull them off to the side. I had one player who he said, "Oh, maybe being like an antisocial character is not the best thing." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you're in a group. Maybe it's not." He's like, "Okay, I'm going to try to play it differently." He's like, "Do me a favor." He's like, "Help me just by maybe give me a hint, or just not even a hint. Be like, hey, this might be a situation we'll take us a look at because it might affect the story." And he's the kind of person who just needs that. So and he's like, "Oh, okay," but he wasn't mad about it. He was more just like, "No, I want to experience it more, but I might need a little help with that."
Sure.
Especially if they don't have the experience playing.
Yeah,
it's where my
experience of picking up a little cues,
Oh, my character totally would stab Roy in the back when he wasn't looking. I'm like, come on, guys, we're supposed to be 4 guys playing a game together. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about V&V is we're all superheroes. So that we're not going to have the Joker hanging out with Spider-Man and Nightcrawler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
are heroes.
Well, John, if you look at his comment, it doesn't, for the inexperienced player, railroading has a very different feel than for somebody who's played for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you hear railroading a lot, but often it's just the DM trying to move the story in a direction, not necessarily railroading.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's extreme cases to that, like John said, where a magical dog comes out or whatever it was. But there's a balance.
Dave, you've also said to us as individual players, I noticed you're doing this. Is that something you want to explore? Like, is your character and like with my character, I'm a wizard. My family disappeared, so I'm trying to find a wish spell, and he's kind of putting stuff along the way that is moving me towards like finding my parents because they disappeared, no bodies. So when I see those things, Dave would be like, "Oh, this might help you find your parents, or this might move you towards your goal." And yes, then I want to explore because that's what my character wants to explore. So you need to have a conversation as a player with your dungeon master, what you want to experience. Some people, we just did some bastions where we made maps, and Scott, the dead professor, was really into like printing out those maps on paper, and he went down this whole rabbit hole. And now he wants to create, and I'm happy to help him, wants to create a whole 3D printed bastion and like have that. And that's something cool to experience within the game, but also within the hobby itself. It's not the story; it's the hobby part of it too.
Right. My viewers know how crazy and anal retentive I am. These are 3 other guys who could hold it. Scott in his own way. Look at he designed his freaking basement to look like the Green Dragon. He 3D prints castles and everything like that.
Yeah.
Look at Dave over there. Could you tell that those are all paints for his miniatures and everything? We got 3 equally crazy guys in different wonderful ways hanging out together. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, when we were getting ready for this game, we decided we wanted to make our own world.
Yeah.
So we
literally
went to we went to a print shop, got a piece of 4-foot by 4-foot paper, brought it to the game room, laid it out, dumped a giant bag of rice on the table, and traced it out. And that was our continent.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We traced the rice.
Lone Island.
We all grabbed the section,
an island,
and we just shaped it a little bit, and then we said, "Okay, we're good." And then we just grabbed the marker, and everyone grabbed the section.
That's pretty clever. That's pretty clever. That is
fun.
Great. How old were you guys the first time you played a role playing game?
Oh, jeez. I think
I was 8th grade, whatever that is.
I was late
12.
in life.
Yeah, I was a kid. I was young. I was red box at like 8 years old at like 1978.
Dave, when did you actually start then? If you were late in life?
Like 20.
Oh wow! And how did that happen?
Through Grib, through our local hobby shop. Just there's always been groups that ran, and I've always wanted to. And like I did like a one shot, and we did a campaign. We all died, and then it just never got picked up again. And then you're always like, oh, that was kind of fun. You had the itch, and you're like, what would have happened,
Yeah.
And then years later, another group, which actually ended up being very theater of the mind. It was Pathfinder. It was right when 3.5 or whatever. So I did that. That was the first one. But yeah, it was pretty late.
Now, did you just? For those of you who don't know, what we're talking about, Brothers Grimm is a game store that I could walk to from my house right here. It's a cool place. Yeah. It's everything. When I found out that I moved into this house, and then I told my wife, if only there was a comic book store and a game store within the walking distance. She picked up the phone. She goes, "Let's go for a walk." I was like, "Oh my god!" It was great. So that's where I met these guys. But Dave, you just packed up and went there one day, like out of the blue, or you always had a nagging interest in?
I was actually working. I used to do EMS work as an EMT, and the partner I was working with that day knew the guy who worked there and said, "Oh, I want to stop in and say hello." And he stopped in, and it was under construction, and it was very weird. And I was like, "What the heck's going on?" They were playing like World of Warcraft on the computers, and at the time, it was like he was introduced me to World of Warcraft. Right. And I was like, wow, this whole concept blew my mind. Of an online game, you could play with people. Yeah. So that's basically how I got sucked into the store. And then from there, sucked into everything else. And the rest of my life was ruined.
Yeah.
We're saved, Dave.
I remember I had a friend with a guy. He was a good guy, but we would like, just, when you're a little kid, you're just friends with the guy across the street, even though you have no similar interests. So we're riding bikes. He's into sports. He's into playing guitars. He's into picking up girls. He was good looking, and in shape on everything I wasn't. So we stopped at my friend Mike's house, and his older brothers were playing D&D. I think I was in 5th grade, and I just sat there, and I'll never forget. One of them was drawing the map as they went along, and another guy was shooting arrows at orcs and marking everything on his. And I was fascinated. And he was like, "Let's go, John. Let's go." Like, he was so uncomfortable, and he thought it was so nerdy that like he couldn't bear to be. And then we're riding I'm like, yeah, those guys were jerks. Meanwhile, I'm like, I got to get back there and play it. I little kid. So I was always fascinated. And then my friend Sean bought that red book, and we just started playing. We didn't know the rules. We just made up our own rules. I remember we were rolling the die 4, and that was how many steps we could take. But
it's funny now that you asked me this. I just remembered. I really wanted to play D&D because I knew if I got into a group, most of it was a small community, so most groups play with other groups. That I would hopefully get invited to the Shadowrun group that I wanted to get invited to. That was like the only group who ran Shadowrun, and it took me about like 10 years to get an invite. And I've been playing in that game for about another 8 years.
And Dave, with that game, you have computers and books, and it's beyond even what the rule book is, right?
Oh, yeah, it's modified. I think the edition they're on is technically 6. We call our game.
They have Excel sheets and stuff.
We have Excel drop sheets, everything. It's amazing. But I've been doing that one for every Monday night for 8 years.
Wow, that is. Now because this is a business. You guys print miniatures and you go to conventions and things like that. So, what would you, if somebody was to come up to you and be like, "Geez, I don't know how to play Dungeons & Dragons. How do I get involved?" What would you say to a total newbie? I mean, I guess they're not a total newbie if they're going to a convention.
It's really funny. There was a great video about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago with the guy who played the Punisher, and I can never remember her name. The girl who was on.
Was it Felicia Day?
No, it was Karen. I forget her name.
She was on the Vampire Show. Crap. Deborah Wall. Yes, right. Yes. And
because I know she's a gamer. She's on
the same question, and she so expertly said, "Look, you're a ranger, right? You like the woods. You've got a bow and an arrow." He's like, and you're in the woods one day, and you hear a scream. What do you do? And he's like, well, I go over and I look at it. I see what it is. She's like, roll a d20. What'd you roll? A number from 1 to 20. He's like, 12. She's like, okay, you're pretty good at stealth. So you sneak up and you see a bear attacking a woman, and she's kind of climbed up in a tree. And he's like, well, I shoot the bear. She's like, roll a d20. And she led him through this whole thing for like 45 minutes. And she's like, well, you've just played D&D.
Yeah. Now, I was talking about, like, how would they find a group of people to play with? Like, they're already interested.
I think that's the hardest part. I think
Yeah,
that, you know, online you can find a group. Maybe there's different Facebook groups. There's different Instagram groups. You could be, you know, sometimes it takes a leader like to do the call to action. Hey, I bought the books. I got the 3 books, and you start asking friends. I'm going to run it, and then maybe you start being a DM and you pull other people in. Or I think you need to play online. A lot of people play online now. I like the in-group, the in-person thing, but you can find a group online. You can pay for it online.
There's actually a website now.
Yeah, there's a website called Start Playing, and it's for DMs to get paid to host games. And, you know, it could be from $5 to $20 a session per person. And that's mainly to lock them in, to make sure they show up, and to weed out some people. But people now do it for a living, where they do it. So Start Playing Games does it. And there's a few others that you could look for the type of game, the genre. You could have safe words. You could have, you could make a whole list of things you're looking for or not looking for.
We missed it, Dave. We could have started only dungeons. You know?
Oh, that's probably out there.
Yeah.
Oh,
no one wants to see a bunch of naked old men.
No, not that. Just like you put it, and then I got my wizard's hat on, and I'm like, okay, you've been a bad goblin.
Our local area's got a Facebook group called Long Island Dungeons and Dragons, and every week there's, hey, I'm looking for a player. Hey, I'm looking for a game. I just moved to the neighborhood. Does anyone know if there's a game in Eastern Suffolk? And is constantly people getting games that way. So social networking has become a big part of, I think, finding a game for people when they move. Now, one of the reasons I'll never move.
You get a newbie at your table. Do you immerse them in all the rules? You guys saw me. I was too, like, I gave you more than because I knew you guys could handle it. But I, like with my wife, I'm just like, we're gonna make up the character, and then I'm not telling you the rules. You just trust that I'm not cheating, and then, you'll pick up the rules. Because the example that I always give is my friend Jimmy, not the Jimmy we know. He would have a summer house, and at night out upstate New York, there was nothing to do, and the kid next door was like, "Want to play Dungeons and Dragons?" He's like, "My friend John's always get me to play." Sure. So he handed him the DM guide, the player's handbook, the monsters manual, and everything. He said, "Read these, and we'll tomorrow." So he went back, and he's like, "This is homework," and he gave the books back and never played again, never touched it again. Now, what would you do with the guy sitting down at your table, is eager to play, excited to play, and doesn't know any of the rules?
There's a lot of pre-made characters. You can start with that, so they don't even have to worry about what's a dexterity and you got to roll that. Just here's a ranger. His name is whatever, and they have stats, quick, and then you just walk them through it as you kind of like you said. What do you want to do? All right, well now you got to roll one of these dice, and just step by step, and they'll eventually pick it up.
Whoever's sitting next to him points to the spot on the character sheet they need to look at and go, "Hey, that's your bonus to this." So
it is a table effort.
Roll. Yeah,
that's usually our mutual friend Jimmy. Me and him have been playing since day one. So whenever we have a new person, like back in Flushing, we'd always constantly have a new person. I was like, you sit next to Jimmy, he's your coach. And he was like, initiative is die 10 plus your agility, okay, die 20 is, you know what I mean? And he
Jimmy was my coach of V&V. I mean, he was.
Oh yeah.
He's great. I've known him for quite a few years.
Yeah, I tried. You guys.
Hey John, let me ask you a question. Do you know much about this? I bought a comic book. It's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition, first issue.
I don't want to move my camera, but it's in this stack right here. That is the one that's World of Greyhawk, I think, or Dragonlance. I forget one.
I think it's Greyhawk. They do have a Dragonlance one. So I lost my comic book collection a while back. I think it was stolen at my mom's. So I haven't really been collecting, but I did see these in a store, and I was like, let me just pick them up. I have a Spelljammer number 11, but I thought it was kind of cool.
They're really good. The later
the artwork.
The later issues are written by Jeff Grubb, who was one of the original editors for the D&D books. And,
I didn't know that.
They have the character stats and stuff like that, and the new magic items in the back. Yeah, I really, really like them. And
you're moving, Dave. I'm moving. Roy, I just lost Roy, John.
I'm sorry?
We lost you for a second. We lost Roy for a second.
Oh, I was gonna say the colorist is one of my favorite colorists. It's Forgotten Realms setting. Alex Johnson said.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex says Forgotten Realms. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have D&D, the Forgotten Realms, that one, and then it did so well. They I think they made a World of Greyhawk comic, and then they made I think a Dragonlance, but by that point I think it was winding down.
Oh, Dragonlance is one of my favorite settings.
I gotta pick that up. I've never played Spelljammers. I've always been interested in playing, but I remember being violently upset of they're mixing the genres. D&D shouldn't be space travel. Now I kind of think it's cool.
Yeah. I think you have to be in the mood for that. And like so with the current campaign, we kind of restarted. We made our own world, and Dave is really bringing us through, and it's really bringing us back to like first edition. The past few dungeon crawls have really been a dungeon crawl, going in, exploring each room. The monsters make sense, and third, fourth, fifth level, you're okay, but you're not super powerful. So like fighting some regular bad guys, like it's kind of scary. You're like, I might die here. This is no good. That's a big monster. So it's been really awesome. So I like the dungeon setting. I like the explore setting. Space when you're high level, fine, but at this level, I'm having a great time.
I remember there was like a couple of controversies. I'll ask you guys but like, do they still do experience points for gold?
No.
No, good. I always hated that. I always hated that you pick up a bag of gold and it just converts to experience. Like to me, gold was a reward unto itself.
They do the milestone system. When you reach a certain point, you advance, or like play 4 adventures, you go to 4th level. Play 5 adventures, you go to 5th level. Play 10 adventures, you get to 10th. So the number of adventures, is that about right, Dave? Is that how you do it? What do you think?
It's a little bit not that quickly, but usually like in a module it'll take you from like 1 to 12, and like once you do this first event, you'll maybe get a level.
Oh, so you don't calculate experience points when you play?
They still have them in the book, but most people use milestone now, and basically it's up to the DM. He's like, the group has accomplished X. This is the point I want them to level up.
I remember in the second edition, one of the things that I liked about it is the players were in charge of their own experience points. Like every time a thief used the thief ability, you got like 100 points. Every time a warrior fought something, you got like 100 points per hit dice, and you know what I mean. So as we were playing, like everybody would keep track of what they did. The wizard cast X amount of spell levels times 100.
I feel like that's alive and well in video games. Like video games are really just like behind the scenes tracking experience points. But the milestones in real life, you get to this
it's
level.
also to prevent like, I can't throw this extra wolf at them because then they're gonna level up too early, and then your counter is now maybe underwhelming because you don't, or they're just like constantly looking for stuff to kill and not going.
Yeah,
they're
walking by stabbing bunnies.
Yeah, they're
kill the
running
bunny.
around trying to farm stuff.
What do they call that? Grinding, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Grinding.
It does happen where you're like, I can't wait to get to 10th. You're like, we got to kill as much stuff as we can or whatever.
Now, you guys, I feel bad talking about our mutual friend Jimmy when he's not here, but he'll watch it later. Jimmy is the epitome of role playing. He likes his characters interesting, different, and likes to role play. Like we played a couple of weeks ago. We didn't even roll dice because it was just talking about stuff. You know what I mean? To him, that's the most fun. Now, how do you guys feel? Like, are you more hack and slash, or are you guys more into role play?
It's a whole mix in the group, I think. Some of us are very much into role playing and enjoy the combat. There's a couple people at the table who obviously enjoy the combat more, but it's a good mix.
Yeah.
Same. I like the role playing.
Campaign.
Yeah,
I
like the role playing, but I like to see the monsters on the map and move my little guy around. Be like, I shoot this.
Oh, you definitely love the role playing. Roy came up with through his character, gave me ideas for future adventures just for the role playing in it. So there's some craziness going on.
Yeah. I've been known for that. I am. I don't know if you can see this. I'm an unsupervised wizard. That's too bright. Warning: unsupervised wizard.
Go the other way.
It's almost 8:00 now, and
I think my screen's putting up a lot of light. That's why.
Yeah, this brightness. But so I got another show at 8:30, and then I got to have dinner beforehand. So
sounds good. Sounds good.
Anything you guys want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, anybody watching, we're trying to grow our YouTube channel. I know we're watching on your YouTube channel, but if you guys just give us a little subscribe to Dark Alchemy Limited. I think we have the link somewhere in here, or you can just search at Dark Alchemy Limited. That's our YouTube channel, but it's actually our name. Dark, DARK Alchemy Ltd. Even if you don't watch us, give us a subscribe. We're trying to get to 500, and we're trying to build up our time. And our next show will be CradleCon at the Cradle of Aviation Museum. It's more of a pop culture show, but we'll have a table there and selling some D&D miniatures. And if you're there, stop by. If you're a subscriber, we'll give you a free miniature. The last one was an owl bear.
I'll throw
And
some.
if John remembers, we'll have some leftover copies of Heroic Tales 1 to sell for him.
Yeah, we'll put it at the table.
And the QR code for his new event on Fund My Comic.
Yeah, John, why don't you make a sheet up with a QR code? We'll put it on the table. Maybe people come by and they'll scan it and maybe you get some more interest.
There you go. I got cards.
Oh yeah, we'll give those out. Perfect. Yeah,
I got cards. I'll give you. Thank you so much. Every bit helps as she pees into the ocean, as my mother used to say. Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. We already.
Thanks, Zach Tan.
Zach Tan already subscried. Zach Tan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great guys. Alex Johnson, I guess we'll get the last question, then we'll go. What do you guys think of Critical Role and other similar shows on YouTube?
It's great.
And more D&D is good.
Yeah. Like Critical Role or hate it, it drove people to the hobby.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of the first 2 campaigns. Third campaign, not so much. Just wasn't my vibe.
Yeah.
But I think it did wonderful things for the hobby and drove people to the hobby. They'll never have that level of game, maybe, but as long as they realize that, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
I never watched it because I know me. I would get obsessed. So I'm actively trying not to get involved into.
Well, luckily you could just watch the animated show on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Now
it's amazing.
It's all their shows put to animated. So
okay. So I don't have to sit through 16 hours of.
No, like 8 episodes and you're done.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's always good to watch. So thanks a lot, guys. You're always welcome to come on. Like I like this. I got to get you. You got to get on Yang's channel. He talks about D&D. He makes his own role playing games.
Yeah, if you set that up, I'd love to talk to him. I love to do. We're doing interviews too. If any listeners that play D&D or have their own channel or make something or write something, I'd love to interview them too. Whether you do a group one or contact me and we'll do some interviews on Dark Alchemy. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. And thank you, John.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. This was fun. I can't believe it was an hour already. Thanks a lot, everybody. And
good night.
Back here in a half hour for It's Clobbering Time. See you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye-bye.